نواصل الآن الجزء الثاني من مناقشتنا.
We will now continue the second part of our high-level general discussion in order to restore the international cooperation to make the programs in order to fight poverty and hunger. I would like to remind all panelists to respect the time allocated, which is 4 minutes, so that all panelists can take the floor.
ندعو الآن إلى المنصة سعادة السيد.
I would like to invite Her Excellency Hanin Al-Sayed, the Minister of Social Affairs in Lebanon. The floor is yours.
Good afternoon. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. Lebanon faces one of the most complex socioeconomic crises in its history. 1/3 of the population now lives below the national poverty line, while food insecurity has reached unprecedented levels. The Ministry of Social Affairs is leading a national effort to protect the most vulnerable and rebuild resilience through integrated social protection and development policies, with the ultimate aim of advancing towards zero poverty and zero hunger, in line with SDGs 1 and 2. Our National Social Safety Net Program, AMAN, lies at the heart of this effort. It currently provides monthly cash assistance to nearly 20% of the Lebanese population, that is 60% of all poor households in Lebanon, by offering predictable income support to help poor households meet their needs. Simultaneously, we are expanding a national disability allowance program that provides direct income support to persons with disabilities to help cover the additional cost of living with a disability. In 2024, and for the first time, Lebanon allocated from its national budget resources to finance these transfers, reaching nearly 15% of persons with disability. In 2025, we doubled this allocation, expanding coverage to 30% of eligible individuals and reaffirming our determination to institutionalize and sustain this program through domestic financing. Looking ahead, we plan a further 10% budget increase in 2026, ensuring that persons with disabilities continue to benefit from a predictable and inclusive social protection system. Similarly, the AMAN Cash Transfer Program now accounts for 1/4 of the ministry's budget, underscoring the government's prioritization of social protection and poverty reduction. This represents not only a lifeline for these families, but also a strong signal of the government's commitment to institutionalizing inclusive, nationally financed social protection. Through this expansion, Lebanon has honored the commitment it made within the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty, specifically to strengthen and institutionalize the National Disability Allowance as a nationally financed, rights-based social protection program. In parallel, as a result of the recent war on Lebanon and the resulting displacement of Lebanese from their homes, we are launching the Cash for Rent program, which provides temporary rental assistance to vulnerable families whose homes were damaged or destroyed during the war and are still displaced to this day. It ensures access to safe housing for 1 year, covering rent and basic utilities. And most importantly, it reestablishes the presence of the state in these areas. Our partnership with the Global Alliance is therefore an opportunity to scale up as well as to consolidate these reforms. Through the Alliance's fast-track mechanism, Lebanon is seeking support to strengthen the coverage and sustainability of both the National Disability Allowance and our shock-responsive safety net that targets internally displaced Lebanese. We acknowledge that globally, financing for development is declining, placing additional strain on national systems already operating under tight fiscal space. Yet this also creates an opportunity to rethink how we finance social protection. Lebanon believes that sustainable social protection cannot depend solely on external aid. As demonstrated previously, we are exploring innovative domestic financing options, from greater efficiency in taxation to partnerships with the private sector and financial institutions, to mechanisms that mobilize national resources for social spending. Our goal is to ensure that financing becomes predictable, fair, and growth-friendly so that social investment strengthens both people and the economy. In response to the increased needs and decreasing aid, the Ministry of Social Affairs is expected to increase its budget by 40% in 2026, yet the needs do remain high. Until we reach the stage of full coverage for those in need, we still need international support and partners to match the government's commitment. Lebanon will be seeking support from the Alliance under the fast-track mechanism, specifically support to expand its programs already mentioned. In addition, support to help fund displaced families, cover their rental costs, those whose houses were destroyed during the recent war in Lebanon. These programs are important to help restore trust in the state as a guarantor of social and economic security and sustain social stability. Lebanon calls for renewed international solidarity and support for predictable financing to ensure that national systems can sustain and expand social protection. We look forward to receiving your support. In conclusion, Lebanon's message today is clear. Ending poverty and hunger requires both protection and opportunity. It requires systems that uphold dignity, empower individuals, and build resilience. Through this alliance, we can turn our shared vision into collective progress for our people and for humanity. Thank you very much.
شكرا لسعادة الوزيرة وأدعو الآن إلى
I would like to thank the minister in Lebanon, and I would like to call upon the Mr. Dominic Habimana, the Minister of Local Government for the Republic of Rwanda, to take the floor.
Excellencies, distinguished leaders, ladies and gentlemen, let me begin by expressing sincere appreciation to the government of Qatar for the warm hospitality and to the leadership of the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty for convening this important meeting. Rwanda is proud to be a member of this alliance. We see this gathering as a timely and transformative platform, one that can unite our efforts, inspire shared responsibility, and put country-led action at the center of global strategies to end hunger and poverty. Our national vision aligns strongly with the mission of this alliance and the Sustainable Development Goals 1 and 2. Guided by our Vision 2050 and our National Strategy for Transformation, Rwanda continues to invest in inclusive growth, human capital development, and resilience to both climate and economic shocks. Our ambition draws inspiration from the words of His Excellency President Paul Kagame, who said, and I quote, "We shall no longer limit our ambition to the eradication of extreme poverty, but rather aim for prosperity and well-being for everyone," end of quote. This vision guides our work every day. It drives us to adopt approaches that are integrated, proper, and community-driven, empowering citizens and strengthening local systems to turn policy into real change. Allow me to share two examples that capture this commitment in action. First, the Vision Umurenge program, VUP, the backbone of our social protection system, has supported more than 2 million Rwandans through direct cash transfers, public works, and financial services, among other things. 74% are women-led households. Second, our national strategy for sustainable graduation applies a whole-of-government approach to help families move out of poverty for good. It combines income support, skills development, financial inclusion, and access to essential services. These homegrown solutions, integrated with other sectoral interventions, have helped Rwanda to reduce poverty from 39.8% in 2017 to 27.4% in 2024, lifting 1.5 million people out of poverty. Progress in food security has also been significant. Rwanda continues to invest in climate-resilient agriculture and innovative financing models that protect smallholder farmers from shocks and strengthen local food systems. Our experience, therefore, reaffirms a simple but powerful truth. When strategies are country-led, citizen-centered, and multisectoral, and when they are backed by genuine partnerships, progress is possible. As we look ahead, I commend the leadership of the Global Alliance for creating this vital platform. Let us continue to champion solutions that work by strengthening national systems, fostering innovation, and ensuring countries have the means and confidence to lead their own transformation. I thank you.
شكرا لكم معالي.
I would like to thank you, Your Excellency, and I would like to call upon Her Excellency Eleanor Kahwa, the Minister Delegate to the Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs for Francophonie and International Partnerships and French nationals abroad from the Republic of France.
Mesdames et messieurs les ministres, mesdames et messieurs les...
Ladies and gentlemen, ministers, ambassadors, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank the state of Qatar for its welcoming, and I would like to felicitate Brazil for this alliance against hunger and poverty. This is a fight for justice and stability. I would like to tell you about something that is really difficult. After 20 years of solidarity, the number of people living in extreme poverty and food insecurity is not being reduced. It is increasing. In some region where there are armed conflict, we are seeing famine. Last year, 1 out of 10 persons have suffered from hunger, which is 673 million people. As human beings sharing the same planet, we cannot accept this. Our mobilization must redouble in order to fight all this and to achieve the SDGs. That's why the World Alliance is an important forum. It allows exchange and it allows creating policies, and the politics of this alliance are a proof. They will be launched in Tanzania, in Rwanda, in Zambia, and other countries, and will be followed up by France. France will work on 3 pillars: the intervention for mothers and children, as well as local farms. Those are the French policies led outside. As for the school meals, there are works being done, and France has a clear objective on this way, providing nutritious meal for all kids by 2030. We have held a first meeting in Paris in 2023, and we have participated in the second meeting that has gathered 70 partners. I would like to seize this opportunity to call upon all the countries which are not a part of this coalition to be a member of it. Then France is offering 140 million school meals per year. This is urgent for food security. School meals are a pillar for the school success, for fighting fighting
Soutenons en Somalie un projet porté par le
for fighting diseases and for work and employment. FAO is creating gardens that will guarantee local products and will be beneficial for hundreds of children. Also, we are cooperating with Brazil in order to reinforce school meals, as well as in Senegal and Benin. In the world, 80% for school meals are being generated from the States. We would like to launch closer collaboration. School meals are one of the most important investments. According to the World Food Program, every dollar counts and has its revenue and its income. Therefore, the school meals are very important. That's why we need to be mobilized on all the level of food and agriculture in order to provide those meals. We are financing a mechanism that is entitled digitalization. This is an exchange between scientific and experts with their, in the water sector and forest protections. Another priority I would like to mention with you, which is the upholding of family agriculture, which are at the heart of our national strategy for food security and for sustainable farming. In 2024, 350 million euros have been allocated for several projects in Africa. I can speak of the project Agri Lake that has been done in Cameroon and in Chad in order to uphold the family agriculture. In conclusion, I would like to underline my commitment and the commitment of my country to do our best in order to reduce the conflicts in the world, which are the first causes of food crisis. There cannot be sustainable development without peace, and this is the message of France when it will preside the G7. We would like to uphold our commitment that were taken few months ago during the conference of growth. You can count on us. Thank you.
شكرا لكم سعادة
Thank you, Your Excellency. I would like to call upon Her Excellency Jafera Toros Cáceres, Minister of Social Development and Family in the Republic of Chile.
Buenas tardes. Good afternoon. I would like to begin by congratulating this instance and valuing Brazil's leadership in this alliance, because the global panorama reminds us that we cannot let our guard down. A decade ago, the international community set out to eradicate poverty in all its forms. But Sustainable Development Goal number 1, the most basic and urgent, today seems to be receding. On the current trajectory, it is estimated that by 2030, more than 700 million people will still be living in extreme poverty. This reality forces us to look at the problem in greater depth. Poverty is not solved with a sum of programs or transfers, because it is not an individual attribute. It is the expression of structural inequalities that are reproduced in our societies. That is why it must be approached from a multidimensional perspective, which recognizes the multiple deprivations that affect access to education, health, housing, decent work, and social participation. Overcoming it requires comprehensiveness and coordination between economic, social, and territorial policies. In Chile, while we welcome progress in poverty reduction, deep gaps remain. According to the latest Casing survey, the 10% of households with the highest incomes receive self-employed incomes more than 40 times higher than those of the 10% with the lowest incomes. This marked inequality has direct implications for the well-being of the population and poses significant challenges to social cohesion and democratic governance. Poverty is not only an economic problem, it is a problem of human rights because it prevents the exercise of rights in conditions of equality. Our region has witnessed how structural discrimination and social exclusion undermine civic participation and hinder access to justice. Where poverty persists, the legitimacy of institutions is weakened. Facing this challenge is not only a social task, it is a democratic task. That is why we deeply value multilateral collaboration. Cooperation between countries has been essential to strengthen local policies and build fairer and more sustainable responses. The international community must ensure that implementation processes are measurable, transparent, and consistent with the commitments made. In this context, I would like to highlight some recent advances in Chile, which reflect a comprehensive vision of social protection focused on people and their rights. First, we are installing a national system of support and care, which seeks to recognize, redistribute, and reduce care work, thus ensuring that no one is left behind. We are moving towards a fairer society where care tasks historically invisible and assumed by women are recognized as a pillar of well-being. Second, we have launched the system of guarantees and comprehensive protections of the rights of children and adolescents, which marks a structural change towards a rights-based approach where the state has the obligation to prevent violations and guarantee protective environments. Third, we are developing an adaptive social protection approach which allows us to respond with agility to social, economic, or climate emergencies, thus strengthening the resilience of households. Fourth, we automated the payment of the single-family subsidy, which facilitates direct and timely access to benefits, reducing information gaps and access costs. And in the fifth place, we created the social single window, an interoperable information system that modernizes public management, integrates programs from different sectors, and strengthens transparency. These advances reflect a social protection that not only assists, but accompanies, recognizes, and empowers. And it also poses important challenges in terms of the existing gaps. A social protection that has to go from a hyper-focal model to a sustainable and resilient international cooperation. Today, we reaffirm Chile's commitment to continue to participate actively in the Alliance Board of Champions and to continue promoting multilateral cooperation and South-South cooperation. Because eradicating poverty and reducing inequality are not just development goals, they are ethical and democratic commitments to present and future generations. Thank you very much.
شكرا لكم سعد.
I would like to thank you, Your Excellency, and I would like to call upon
سكان في جمهورية سورينام فلتتفضل.
I would like to call upon Mrs. Diana Poki, Minister of Social Affairs and Housing for the Republic of the Suriname, to take the floor.
Damos la palabra a Su Excelencia Diana Poki, Ministra de Asuntos Sociales y Vivienda de Surinam.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, on behalf of the government of the Republic of Suriname, I wish to express our sincere appreciation to the State of Qatar for its warm hospitality and the excellent arrangement made for this important meeting. We also commend the leadership of Brazil and the United Nations for convening this first leaders meeting of the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. For Suriname, eradicating poverty and achieving food and nutrition security are central to our national vision for sustainable development. As reflected in our 2025 voluntary national review, we are advancing poverty reduction through a whole of society approach. We have strengthened this fight through expanded social protection programs that provide vital support to those most in need. Access to health, education, and housing services has been expanded with special attention given the indigenous and tribal peoples, ensuring that no one is left behind. For example, access to primary health services and social benefits in the hinterland is now more flexible than in the coastal areas. Additionally, targeted housing and infrastructure initiatives such as the Affordable Housing Program 2023 to 2025 are improving living conditions and addressing the structural roots of poverty across Suriname. Guided by our National Development Plan 2022 to 2026 and our Green Development Strategy, we are implementing targeted actions that place our people and planet at the center of our policy, such as the digitalization of all procedures to update the social database, ensuring we reach those most in need of social benefits. This makes cooperation and coordination with ministries co-responsible for social policies of vital importance. Updating to the beneficiary information system and developing an integrated national social protection strategy to eradicate and prevent poverty, strengthen families, and break the intergenerational cycle of poverty. Introducing the ICBAN network to complement social protection for children, strengthening social legislation and its enforcement. Despite these measures, we recognize that poverty eradication cannot be achieved without food security. Under SDG 2, Zero Hunger, Suriname is promoting sustainable and climate-smart agriculture. We are using our fertile soils and freshwater resources to strengthen local food production and reduce dependency on imports. Farmers and cooperatives are receiving training, access the input, and better link to markets. Nutrition programs now reach schools and remote communities, focusing on children and expanded mothers. However, to scale up these efforts, we call for international cooperation that is flexible, context-sensitive, and aligned with national development plans, enabling countries like Suriname to fully drive their strategies to eliminate hunger and poverty in a sustainable and inclusive manner. Our efforts are intrinsically tied to environmental stewardship as one of the three greenest countries on earth with over 93% forest cover. Suriname understands that protecting ecosystem and combating poverty are inseparable goals. Forest livelihoods, ecotourism, and sustainable agriculture form part of one of the integrated development vision. Excellencies, Suriname therefore regards the Global Alliance as a vital platform for reinventing international cooperation, shifting from fragmented aid to coordinated country-driven programs. We work closely with our bilateral, regional, and multilateral partners whose technical assistance and financial support are instrumental in aligning our national programs with the SDGs and building the necessary data systems to measure progress. Going forward, we call for partnerships that deliver predictable resources, technology transfer, and capacity building directly to national systems, directly to national systems. International solidarity must empower countries to design and implement their own solutions reflecting local realities and community voices. Excellencies, Suriname reaffirms its strong commitment to this global alliance. We stand ready to share our experience as a small green upper middle income nation working to ensure that every citizen can live free from hunger and poverty in harmony with nature. Let us work together to turn promises into progress and cooperation into tangible change for all. Thank you.
شكرا لكم سعادة الوزيرة. رحبوا معي.
I would like to thank Her Excellency. Welcome Mrs. Doreen Pampa, the parliamentarian and the Minister for Developing Social Affairs in Zambia. The floor is yours.
Your Excellencies, distinguished leaders, ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Deep appreciation to the government of Qatar for hosting us. Zambia commends the Global Alliance for convening this important meeting at a time when hunger and poverty continue to threaten the progress we have made towards achieving the Sustainable Development Goals. The theme, Reinventing International Cooperation for Fighting Hunger and Poverty, is both timely and visionary, as it calls for a renewed way of working that places the country priorities and country systems at the center of global action. For Zambia, this principle lies at the heart of our development agenda. We do believe that sustainable poverty reduction begins with empowered communities, inclusive national systems, and strong partnerships that enable people to live in dignity and security. Over the past decade, Zambia has made steady progress in expanding social protection and social development interventions, and our flagship being the Social Cash Transfer Program, which covers over 30% of our population households, contributing to reduction in extreme poverty and improved food security. We have, as a country, strengthened this program through the Cash Plus approach, which integrates cash assistance with complementary support in nutrition, livelihoods, education, and climate resilience. In addition, we are investing in skills development, youth empowerment, and women economic participation to create pathways out of poverty. Zambia's approach reflects our conviction as a country that indeed hunger and poverty are multidimensional challenges requiring integrated long-term solutions. However, like many developing countries, Zambia continues to face challenges, limited fiscal space, climate-induced shocks. These realities underscore the need for renewed international cooperation that is predictable, inclusive, and aligned with national priorities. We do believe that the Global Alliance is a powerful platform to achieve this by fostering joint financing, strengthening national capacities, and promoting knowledge exchange among partners. Distinguished delegates, Zambia supports the call to put country programs at the center of international cooperations. When global partnerships align behind national strategies, we not only accelerate progress, but also build the resilience and self-resilience of our poor people. In this regard, we reaffirm, as Zambia, our commitment to working with the Global Alliance and all partners to build a world where everyone will be free from hunger, where every child, every woman, every man can live in dignity, opportunity, and hope. I thank you.
شكرا لكم سعادة.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Let's all welcome His Excellency Kutluhan Tachkin, the Deputy President of the Strategy and Budget Directorate in the Republic of Turkey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, distinguished delegates, and esteemed guests. At the outset, I would like to extend our sincere appreciation to the Global Alliance team, led by the Brazilian and Spanish government and the State of Qatar for hosting and organizing this important gathering. As a founding member, Turkey commends the efforts to bring together partners committed to eradicating hunger and poverty under the framework of Global Alliance. The combined effects of the pandemic, conflicts, and climate change have deepened food insecurity and widened inequality. These challenges remind us that hunger and poverty are not only development issues, they are moral tests of global solidarity and shared responsibility. Strengthening country-owned program-based cooperation that aligns with national strategies will be essential. The Global Alliance serves as a platform of convergence, bringing together governments, international institutions, and development partners to support locally designed and implemented solutions. For developing countries, and domestic resource mobilization is essential. Stronger coordination between global mechanisms and local institutions will help ensure that international cooperation reinforces rather than replaces national ownership. Ending hunger and poverty is not only a policy choice, but also a shared moral obligation. Turkey stands ready to share its experience in digitalization and social protection and sustainable development with all partners. Distinguished delegates, over the past 2 decades, Turkey has undertaken a comprehensive transformation of its social protection and poverty reduction systems, linking economic growth with social inclusion. Our approach is human-centered, integrated, and data-driven, combining social, economic, and rights-based dimensions of development. Poverty reduction policies are closely aligned with employment generation, education, and social protection. Among Turkey's successful models in the field of social protection is the Integrated Social Assistance Information System, which links data from all public institutions, enables beneficiaries to access multiple forms of assistance through a single digital interface. This digitalization has reduced processing times from weeks to minutes, eliminated overlaps, and ensured transparent, efficient, and targeting of resources. The World Bank has recognized this system as a best practice, highlighting its effectiveness in improving efficiency and transparency in social assistance delivery. Distinguished delegates, Turkey's development cooperation is guided by the principles of solidarity, inclusiveness, and partnership. According to the OECD, Turkey's official development assistance reached to around 0.6% of national income, well above the OECD average. Through the Turkish Cooperation and Coordination Agency, Turkey implements development cooperation programs in over 150 countries, focusing on agriculture, irrigation, food security, education, healthcare, and institutional capacity building, particularly in least developed and low-income countries. Our Zero Waste initiative, recognized by the United Nations, promotes sustainable consumption and production, essential for long-term food security and climate resilience. Turkey also hosts the UN Technology Bank for least developed countries, which strengthens scientific, technological, and innovation capacities as a key driver for achieving food security and poverty eradication. Distinguished delegates, before concluding my remarks, I'd like to express that we welcome the ceasefire in Gaza. However, it's deeply concerning that, despite all ongoing efforts, the humanitarian situation in Gaza remains devastating. This situation entails urgent international support to address the pressing need with growing cases of starvation and famine. The UN and UN relief and work agencies' role in coordinating humanitarian aid in Gaza is also essential. International community should remain vigilant to avoid any aggression in Gaza, West Bank, and in any other part of the world. Thank you all.
شكرا لكم سعادة.
I would like to thank you, Your Excellency, and I would like to invite now Her Excellency Samah Hamad, Minister of Social Development of the State of Palestine, to take the floor.
Distinguished colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, allow me again to express my sincere gratitude for the State of Qatar hosting this important gathering, and for the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty, and also for the State of Brazil and Spain for leading this initiative. For the State of Palestine, the struggle against hunger and poverty is inseparable from the struggle for justice, dignity, and human rights. The ongoing aggression and occupation have destroyed every layer of life in Gaza Strip and strained the social fabric across the West Bank and Jerusalem. More than 2.1 million people in Gaza face prolonged food shortages and acute food insecurity. Almost the entire population classified in IPC Phase 3 or worse. At least 1.9 million people are displaced and homeless within Gaza. Some families in Gaza has been displaced within the 2 years 15 times. The average is 6 times per family within 2 years. And despite this immense suffering, our people remain steadfast their resilience unmatched, determined to rebuild their lives and their homeland. In this context, international cooperation is not a choice, it is a lifetime. But we have learned that true sustainability begins only when cooperation strengthens, not substitutes, national system. Excellencies, the success of these initiatives ultimately depends on our ability to mobilize sustainable financing and protect physical space for social investment. For Palestine, physical space is not just a technical concept, it's a matter of justice. Restrictions on movement, access, and trade. Not only that, also restrictions on our own money that reach almost $4 billion now. It is a matter that we need to constrain our economy, while repeated destruction of infrastructure has drained public resources. Despite these constraints, we have maintained our commitment to social spending because we know that protecting the most vulnerable is the truest measure of a government's legitimacy. Building on this, our vision for relief, recovery, and reconstruction in Gaza is anchored in a nationally led framework that integrates social protection and human development. The government of Palestine has submitted a comprehensive portfolio of 326 projects for Gaza within the Gaza Recovery and Reconstruction Implementation Program, covering 18 sectors and 56 sub-programs with an estimated value of $67 billion. These projects aim not only to rebuild infrastructure, but to restore livelihoods, strengthen institutions, and recover the social fabric of our communities. We are already implementing the area recovery interventions in partnership with national and international actors, delivering food, shelter, psychological support, and protection services across Gaza, and still need to happen. More efforts is needed, efforts that has the same value of the destruction that my country faced. Also, we have the emergency cash transfers to Gaza that used an e-payment mechanisms, different e-payment, OTC, all kinds of mechanisms that would allow us to transfer cash, especially for the vulnerable communities in Gaza and in West Bank. So we advanced the digital payment, not because we need this, because we need to go into digital economy, but because it's a need. All the banking system in Gaza destroyed. So we activated the e-payment immediately with the private sector to allow our people to get some cash to be able to recover some of their lives. As we look ahead to the Second World Summit for Social Development, Palestine calls for a new era of international cooperation, one that protects social investment, even in times of physical constraint and political instability. We must build an international financial architect that places people first, ensuring that humanitarian and development financing remain isolated from external pressures and conditions. Our collective responsibility is to protect this financial support for the most essential people, the human well-being. All this means integrating income support with employment generation, linking food security with education and health, and ensuring that social protection systems serve as both safety nets and springboards toward recovery and empowerment. Ending hunger and poverty requires not only resources, but trust, partnership, and political will. In this spirit, Palestine underscores the importance of collaboration and coordination, recognizing the reality of limited resources and the need to focus on priorities that create tangible impact, especially for my people. We know that resources will be limited, but we need to coordinate with each other to increase the impact and to focus on priorities. Through joint planning and aligned action, we can ensure that every effort contributes to rebuilding lives, restoring dignity, and fostering lasting resilience. In conclusion, Excellencies, we in Palestine know too well that the human cost of inaction is measured in lives lost and futures foregone. That is why our government stands ready to lead with clear plans and great responsibility, transparent mechanisms, and determination to ensure that every contribution translates into tangible progress. We call upon our partners to move from coordination to collaboration, from bridges to implementation, from aid to empowerment. Together, we can build resilient, inclusive, and nationally owned social protection system. Actually, it's not built to regain our social protection system that was destroyed. The State of Palestine remains steadfast in its commitment in social justice and human dignity. Even in the face of adversity, our people stand tall, not in despair, but in determination. Let this meeting mark the beginning of a new era, where rebuilding and reconstructing Palestine becomes part of rebuilding global hope, and our collective action turns solidarity into systems, compassion into policy, and policy into lasting protection. Thank you.
شكرا لكم.
I would like to thank you, Your Excellency, and I would like to call upon Ms. Maropian Lydia Ramokpa, Minister in the Presidency of Planning, Monitoring and Evaluation in the Republic of South Africa, to take the floor.
Thank you, Madam Moderator. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor to address this inaugural leaders' meeting of the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. South Africa commends the state of Qatar for hosting us and acknowledges Brazil and Spain as the co-conveners of this alliance. We also recognize all members who have worked tirelessly since its launch. Hunger and poverty remain amongst the most persistent injustices of our time, and yet they remain among the most solvable. When Brazil, under its G20 presidency in 2024, championed the creation of this alliance, it reminded the world that ending hunger and extreme poverty must be placed back at the center of international cooperation. This message resonated deeply across the Global South, particularly for Africa, where food insecurity continues to undermine our wider development aspirations. Under South Africa's G20 presidency this year, we have sought to build on that solid foundation, ensuring alignment across G20 work streams and within the alliance itself. Recent data from the State of Food and Nutrition Security in the World Report shows that while global hunger declined slightly to around 720 million people, 2.6 billion people still cannot afford a healthy diet. In Africa, about 307 million people are affected. Ending hunger and poverty demands a shift away from project-based interventions towards cooperation that backs country-owned priorities, national systems, and long-term programs. However, we cannot ignore the reality that the ability of developing countries to invest in national systems is constrained by unsustainable debt burdens and pro-cyclical financing. Many countries are spending more servicing debt than investing in food systems and social protection. We are left with the dire choice between financial obligations and investing in food systems. It is a dynamic that has the potential to negatively impact our shared goal of ending hunger and poverty. Therefore, we need innovative financing and the financial architecture reform as essential to ending hunger. South Africa supports the full implementation of the Compromiso de Sevilla, as well as the Addis Ababa Action Agenda, which includes efforts geared towards aligning global financing, improving debt sustainability frameworks, and mobilizing blended and concessional finance at scale. We need instruments that reduce the cost of capital and de-risk investment in smallholder agriculture and social protection systems. Without these, national priorities will remain unfunded and commitments will remain aspirations on paper. Through the G20 Development Working Group and the Food Security Task Force, South Africa has prioritized integrated responses that strengthen national systems for social protection, agricultural productivity, and inclusive financing. Two outcomes adopted by consensus this year, the Food Security Ministerial Declaration and the Ubuntu approaches on food security and excessive food price volatility, highlight the urgency of tackling price spikes and inflation, which undermine food access in a world that has enough food to feed all its people. The Global Alliance offers a platform to accelerate this agenda through solidarity, shared learning, and investments directed at national priorities. Its pillars of financing, coordination, and partnerships align closely with Africa's Agenda 2063, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and the AU's Comprehensive Africa Agriculture Development Program. To scale impact, we encourage the Alliance to deepen collaboration with the AU Development Agency, NEPAD, the UN system, the international financing institutions, and regional development banks. South Africa reaffirms its commitment to working with fellow members to drive the next phase of the Alliance with country-led, evidence-based, and results-oriented implementation at the core. Let us seize this moment to turn collective will into action to ensure that no person goes to bed hungry and that the dignity of all people is realized in practice. I thank you.
I would like to thank you, Your Excellency. Let us invite now Her Excellency Lydia Lima Melo, the Secretary of State for Social Inclusion of the Republic of Cabo Verde.
Excelências, Your Excellencies, I would like to thank the State of Qatar. It is with great pleasure that we are here participating in this summit, and especially in this panel that is promoted by Brazil, which is a great partner of Cape Verde with the Alliance, Global Alliance Against Hunger. The government of Cape Verde has not measured its strengths to combat the vulnerability of the groups that are at risk to be left behind in the process of development of the country. The combat of hunger and the food security and the reduction of social inequalities has been receiving a lot of attention of our government through a continuous work and investment that structure the conditions of access to basic, like sanitation, electricity, water, health, education, guaranteeing the social inclusion of the most vulnerable groups. We are aligned with the Agenda of 2030 of the UN, and in this we are pursuing the objectives of the ODS's working SDGs in this key sectors of development. We understand that the process of development has to be inclusive and has to promote the social well-being. In this, we have adopted a strategy of education of extreme poverty until 2026 to promote social inclusion of the risk groups that are to be left behind through this social empowerment and economical and to access to revenue. So we are implementing the strategy with the financial strategies of the state and the partners, institutional partners that are along with the UN, European Union, and World Bank. And with this junction, we are able to get to the most vulnerable groups with social interventions that combat food insecurity, with hot meals to many kids, adolescents, elderly, and other vulnerable groups in the schools and the centers, with the introduction of the rural world to majority of the production, the agriculture production that guarantees the sustainability, and through initiatives, local initiatives with projects of social markets that support the lives of the very vulnerable with food, through the subventions, financial subventions, also to for the development of social projects that reinforce food security in times of crisis, through the attribution of social revenue of inclusion, the vulnerable families, and the development, the productive development that create opportunities of income, and also the care of where the kids will receive a hot meal, and also early childhood care, and also the intervention of the state. Within other measurements for the more vulnerable publics, we develop actions that insert the kids through internships for youth without any employment. We are promoting the personal care of the elderly and also the disabled people, to promote empowerment of the vulnerable women through capacitation, professional capacitation, and other measures of protection, social protection. We have free access to health, to the elderly, disabled, and to kids up to 5 years old. We support the children and the adolescent with transportation to school, and also school kits, and also the living also for the vulnerable families. And we guarantee the very poor families to access to water, electricity through the implementation of the social tariff. For a good focus of these measures in the targeted groups, we created a tool of registration, a national registration that guarantees more justice and transparency in identifying and selecting the ones that are going to be benefited. So the struggle continues because with the solidarity between the nations, it's possible to get to our goal and protect the rights of our citizens and guarantee peace and social justice in the country and also in a global level. Thank you very much.
شكرا لكم سعادة وزير الدولة. ضيوفنا الأعزاء، أحب أن أنوه مرة أخرى على جميع المتحدثين التفضل.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Dear guests, please respect the allocated time, which is only 4 hours. I would like to invite Mr. Sudandith Bat, Secretary of State, Vice Minister of Ministry of Planning in Cambodia. The floor is yours.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is a profound honor for the Kingdom of Cambodia to address this august assembly. We gather here today with renewed resolve to eliminate hunger and poverty in all their forms. Cambodia makes significant progress towards achieving these goals. Food insecurity and malnutrition decline significantly. We become self-sufficient in rice production and a key player in the export of this commodity. Merely 20.6% of the population live in poverty in 2023, compared with 47.8% in 2007. These remarkable achievements translate into improved living conditions for millions. Despite these gains, much needs to be done, and progress can be fragile in the world where systemic challenges become increasingly prevalent. The COVID-19 pandemic caused a hike in Cambodia's poverty rate, while the 2020 flooding was severe, threatening food security and the effort to eliminate hunger and malnutrition. Excellencies, the only certainty is uncertainty, and the cornerstone of success is a joint effort. That is why Cambodia strongly supports the establishment of this global alliance, engaging in multi-stakeholder partnerships, particularly South-South and triangular cooperation. And public-private partnerships are deemed important to our development. Today, Cambodia renews commitment to pursuing the alliance objectives, pledging to implement national policies and programs with special priority given to the needs of women and children, and to those vulnerable groups and persons. To this end, we make certain that our policy instruments align with and contribute to the policy basket and sustainable development goals, especially SDG 2, Zero Hunger, and SDG 1, No Poverty. Formulate strategies to improve nutrition and healthy diets, especially among reproductive age women and children, and to promote sustainable food systems by strengthening the agriculture sector, food value chain, through climate-smart practices, sustainable fisheries, and infrastructure development, including irrigation systems. This particularly benefits smallholders. Last but not least, strengthen the implementation of national policies, ranging from human capital development and closing gender digital divide to pro-poor and gender-sensitive support in the midst of shocks, prioritizing education and lifelong learning, STEM education, school health and feeding, safe drinking water, sanitation and hygiene, universal health coverage, adaptive social protection, and informal economy development. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, countries of the world continue to suffer from these two persisting deprivations. Cambodia stands ready to work with all members, development actors, aspiring to build a future in which no one anywhere goes hungry, and that poverty is not the destiny of any family. Together, we can make this aspiration a reality. Thank you. Thank you.
شكرا لكم سعادة وزير الدولة. مدير عام المشاريع الخاصة.
I would like to thank the Secretary of State, and I would like to give the floor to Mr. Mendoza. The floor is yours.
Excelencias, muy buenas tardes.
Good afternoon, Excellencies. It's an honor to participate in these leaders' meetings against hunger and poverty, representing my country, Mexico. From the Secretary of Foreign Affairs, I'm Mexic. I would like to thank the State of Qatar for hosting this important meeting and for the leadership and the commitment that both Spain and Brazil have had for us to be meeting here today. As the President of Mexico, Dr. Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo, mentioned, the main challenge of our time is not to just produce more food, but also to construct shared prosperity. In the G20 in Rio de Janeiro, our President suggested to address the 1% of military expense to the biggest reforesting program in history. And under the same principle, shared prosperity would become the basis of peace and social justice, and of course becoming also a tool to fight hunger and poverty. In Mexico, we are doing a historical advance of 13.4 million people that abandon poverty situations from 2018 to 2024, and this is 12.3% less than the levels of poverty in our country before 2024. Now, Mexico reiterates our conviction that international cooperation must reinvent itself and move from assistance to shared responsibility of shared financing and backing national programs and a discourse for a transformative action of all territories. Currently, we are facing shared challenges that can only be tackled by international cooperation between countries. In this task, Mexico recognizes the importance of triangular cooperation as a mode of cooperation that will strengthen the alliance. From Mexico's point of view, the objective of triangular cooperation needs to evolve and promote a more horizontal cooperation, both in terms of financing and benefits, ensuring that alliances continue and go beyond the duration of individual projects. The diversity of experiences and shared focuses prove that our model is an efficient tool to create innovative solutions, particularly in the global context. We reinstate our commitment to triangular cooperation as a key tool to promote sustainable development, also the resilience between South and North countries and international organizations. In this context, I would like to share two experiences that make Mexico very proud. One is providing life and the youth building the future, both hope for social justice, a sustainable environment, and human dignity. Sembrando Vida hopes to strengthen the rural economies. From Amexit, we have extended this model to the rest of Central America and the Caribbean through the program Mesoamerica Without Hunger and another program, Planting Together for a Shared Responsibility, which were programs that were made available to this alliance. And both of them have the objective of eradicating hunger by promoting agricultural systems that are sustainable and adapted to local conditions, focused in a triangular cooperation that implicates communities, governments, and international partners. The youth Building the Future is another project and program that gives jobs to thousands of youths, breaking cycles that would have led them to poverty. These programs have encouraged women's participation, and both of them have also called for the participation of indigenous populations. Both programs are evidence that investing in society transforms lives at a social and climatic level and avoids forced displacements. Mexico joins the efforts of this global alliance, fully convinced that only by solidarity and cooperation we can bridge the gaps that divide our societies. Our Chancellor, Juan Ramón de la Fuente, was very clear and precise when he said that through international cooperation we must support all of the needs of all of the communities, because every tree that we plant and every youth that we train and each community that we empower will give us a world where poverty and hunger are history and not a fate. Thank you.
نشكر الآن فأدعو
I would like to give the floor right now to Omar Abdi, the Deputy Executive Director of UNICEF. The floor is yours.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. On behalf of UNICEF, I would like to congratulate the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty and all of its members on the progress that has been made since its launch just under a year ago. I would specifically like to thank the governments of Brazil and Spain for their leadership in this endeavor, and the government of Qatar for their generosity and commitment to hosting us here today. UNICEF has been honored to be part of this journey since its inception and to contribute to the Global Alliance's efforts to build collective momentum to bring the world back on the path to zero hunger and poverty, with explicit recognition of the reinforcing and intersecting nature of poverty, hunger, and malnutrition. You have indeed our deep and strong support on this ambitious vision. To echo President Lula's sentiment, none of us should rest easy knowing that every day children go to bed hungry and wake up living in poverty. Although there has been significant progress over the past decades, today more than 412 million children still grow up in extreme poverty, and 440 million children do not receive the nutritious foods they need to grow and develop, robbing them of their opportunities to reach their full potential. It is to answer this moral imperative that we are gathered here today, and to meet it with bold and practical action to accelerate progress on reducing poverty, hunger, and malnutrition. For this, we must put nationally led solutions at the center, building on existing national programs and capacities. For UNICEF, this has always been a priority, and now is more important than ever in the current environment of constrained global resources. In this context, UNICEF is honored to support the fast-track country-led plans, particularly those on integrated maternal and early childhood interventions and on cash transfers, and commends the government of Brazil and the support mechanism for their leadership. With our colleagues in country offices, we are glad to be supporting the national plans in Bangladesh, Mozambique, State of Palestine, Tanzania, and Zambia. Our commitment to accelerating action on SDG 1 and SDG 2 is unwavering. UNICEF's new strategic plan 2026-2029 recommits us to supporting government partners to achieve results at scale, leveraging UNICEF's multi-sector approach and expertise and country presence in over 130 countries. Our commitment to the national partners and to the Global Alliance also extends to marshalling partnerships and financing in support of our joint objectives. UNICEF is working with governments and partners to leverage financing through mechanisms such as the Child Nutrition Fund. The Child Nutrition Fund is a UNICEF-led multi-partner coordination and financing mechanism designed to accelerate the implementation of high-impact actions supporting countries in achieving their national nutrition commitments. The Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty dares us collectively to be bold, to show leadership in realizing a better world for our children and their future. UNICEF believes this future is both possible and necessary, despite the daunting challenges we face. We are honored to share this stage with so many governments and partners also committed to this future, and we look forward to continuing to work with all of you to translating this hope into a reality in the lives of children and their families. Thank you.
I would like to thank you, Mr. Abdi, and I would like to invite Ms. Cecilia Ogas Estrada, the Deputy to the Director General of the UNIDO, to take the floor.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen. It is a great honor and a pleasure to be here today at the first leaders meeting of the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty, representing the United Nations Industrial Development Organization, UNIDO. Let me begin by thanking the government of Qatar for the hosting this meeting and the co-chairs, Brazil and Spain, for so ably steering the work of this alliance. As one of the founding members, UNIDO strongly supports the Global Alliance. Indeed, ending hunger is one of UNIDO's thematic priorities endorsed by our member states. The high-level objectives of the Global Alliance are well aligned with the conclusions of the World Without Hunger Conference that was co-organized in November 2024 by the government of Ethiopia, the African Union Commission, UNIDO, with the technical support of FAO. The conference highlighted 6 solutions to combat hunger: strengthening social protection, boosting farm productivity, improving rural infrastructure, promoting agri-food processing, expanding access to finance, and advancing fair trade policies. Excellencies, the fight against hunger and poverty must continue. We cannot afford to let it lose momentum. We know that there is enough food produced to feed everyone, yet an estimated 673 million people go hungry every day. As we all know, Africa remains the most food insecure continent, yet it exports vast quantities of agricultural commodities while importing around $80 million in food each year, a third of which are processed products that could be produced locally by strengthening regional industries and value chains. UNIDO supports its member states in developing their food processing industries and strengthening local value chains. These efforts aim to increase both the quantity and the quality of locally processed foods, ensuring that they meet local, regional, and global market standards. UNIDO's approach to strengthening agro-food productive capacities, as well as food processing and marketing in an inclusive and sustainable manner, contributes to job creation and income generation beyond the farm, particularly in rural communities. It also supports the fight against hunger by increasing the availability of healthy, locally produced food in domestic markets. In Ethiopia, the Alliance and UNIDO are currently supporting the Yelemat Tirufat flagship program led by the Ministry of Agriculture under the auspices of the Prime Minister's Office. UNIDO's ongoing agro-industrial portfolio will also benefit this program across 4 value chains: dairy, poultry, honey, and fisheries. Building on experience and knowledge emanating from such partnerships, UNIDO stands ready to work with all of you on combating hunger and poverty. We look forward to a continued and strong collaboration. I thank you.
I would like to thank Ms. Estrada, and I would like to call upon Rania Dash Kamara, Assistant Executive Director for Partnership and Innovation in the World Food Programme, to take the floor.
Good afternoon, everyone. Are you still here? Great. Excellencies and ladies and gentlemen, it's an honor to join you here today, and I join all those before me who have expressed what a great opportunity it is today to focus on action and solutions and addressing hunger and poverty, and in all their multifacets. I do want to start by extending WFP's appreciation to the governments of Brazil and Spain and Qatar for arranging and hosting this conversation. So thank you, and thanks to all of you for being here. Only 3 points, and I'll be really fast about them. The first is we have a problem. I think the problem's been extremely well articulated today, so I'm not going to go into why hunger is surging and how the multiple and the intensity of crises is reversing a lot of our development gains. We know there's a problem. The second is that we have the leadership and the political will, whether it's in this room or as demonstrated by Brazil previously, or as being led by many of you and France in proposing to the G7 that we continue to push together. 200 partners and growing, I think, demonstrates strong political will, and that's across governments, private sector, UN agencies, civil society, and individuals. So we are all set to collaborate and to work together to crowd and resource and advocate together. Now I'll come to the third and more important point, and that is about solutions that we in WFP are here to work with you on and to extend. And It's pretty straightforward. The first for us is social protection. One of the best policy tools that we have seen that reduces hunger, malnutrition, and poverty at scale is national social protection systems. Many of you articulated that today. But what is remarkable in the progress that we have seen through that is that it is historic to have, for the first time, more than half of the world's population covered by at least one form of social protection. And the problem is there's still about 2 billion in low and some middle-income countries who are uncovered, and that we would like to change. In 2024, WFP supported about 63 countries, and we came in with technical expertise. We enhanced coverage, quality, and responsiveness of the systems that the governments are putting in place. We would like to grow that with you. So that's point one. The second is a second policy area that has seen enormous progress in recent years, and that is school meals. Our last State of School Feeding report, which we launched last month, says that there are 466 million children receiving school meals today, and that's government-led programs. So a massive congratulations to all of you. And that is 80 million more children than we had just a few years ago. What's amazing about school meals is that they create jobs, they increase farmer incomes, they reduce carbon emissions, whilst making sure that the children are well nourished and ready to learn. And in the Secretariat for the School Meals Coalition, for us as WFP, we work closely with the Global Alliance to ensure both initiatives are reinforcing and providing governments the expertise to turn school meal commitments into impactful programs. So with the fast track process and beyond, we've worked with Benin and Cambodia and Indonesia and are ready to work with all of you to continue doing so. And then to the third and final point, which is the enablers. In WFP, we have a very strong South-South triangular cooperation team. It has centers of excellence in Brazil, in China, in Cote d'Ivoire, and they work on exchange and knowledge. Please lean in and use it, and we are very happy to extend and support you. And then finally, we have an innovation accelerator in Munich. It has an AI sandbox and many other ways that we can work with you to innovate and scale quickly. You want to use it, we are at your disposal. So thank you. And thank you.
شكرا لكم سعادتكم. أما الآن فاسمحوا لي أن أدعو سعادة السيد أندرياس كاكوريز المبعوث الخاص لتعددية الأطراف في جمهورية قبرص، فليتفضل سعادته.
I would like to call upon Mr. Andreas Sakouris, the Special Envoy on Multilateralism of the Republic of Cyprus, to take the floor.
Excellencies, distinguished delegates, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to begin by echoing previous speakers in expressing our sincere appreciation to our gracious hosts, Qatar, and to Brazil and Spain for their inspired leadership. We meet in Doha at a time when the international community faces growing demands but diminishing resources. Development and humanitarian budgets are under strain, while millions suffer from acute food insecurity and multidimensional poverty continues to rise. Conflict, climate change, and inequality continue to fuel these crises, undermining collective efforts and putting the goals of the 2030 Agenda further out of reach. In this context, revitalizing international cooperation cannot merely be an aspiration, but it is an imperative. And in Doha, we have a unique opportunity to renew our collective commitment to the 2030 Agenda, especially to Sustainable Development Goals 1 and 2, to end poverty in all its forms and to achieve zero hunger. The Global Alliance comes at a critical juncture. By placing country-led and people-centered programs at its core, the Alliance seeks to overcome the fragmentation of multilateralism enhance coherence, and ensure that assistance reaches those who need it most. This approach reflects the founding values of the United Nations: solidarity, partnership, and shared responsibility. But these challenges cannot be met by any single country or organization acting alone. They necessitate coordinated, multilateral responses rooted in collective action and shared purpose. Cyprus is proud to be a founding member of the Global Alliance and fully endorses its mission. And through our statement of commitment, we recognize that hunger and malnutrition are manifestations of structural poverty and inequality. Our engagement is firmly anchored in Cyprus's long-standing commitment to multilateralism and to the United Nations system. As a member of the UN Human Rights Council, Cyprus promotes the universality of human rights and human dignity, principles that guide all our humanitarian and development cooperation. And through Cyprus Aid, operating under the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, we maintain strong partnerships with UNICEF, the World Food Programme, and many other UN agencies. And we actively direct funding towards programs in the African continent, in our immediate neighborhood, the Middle East, and in small island developing states in the Caribbean and the Pacific. Recognizing the growing global needs, Cyprus has substantially increased its humanitarian assistance budget for 2025 and 2026, a deliberate decision that runs counter to the global trend of shrinking aid budgets. It underscores our political commitment to doing more within our means to advance the objectives of the Global Alliance and to contribute to international efforts towards eradicating poverty. In the same spirit, the Amalthea Initiative, a maritime humanitarian corridor from Cyprus to Gaza, has become a vital lifeline for civilians facing acute food insecurity. And between spring and summer 2024, approximately 22,000 tons of humanitarian aid were delivered to Gaza directly through this initiative. And following its reactivation, shipments between August and October 2025 delivered over 3,000 tons of essential supplies, including food, shelter, and medicine, reaching families in desperate need. Amalthea demonstrates Cyprus's unwavering commitment to multilateral humanitarian engagement. Hunger and poverty are among humanity's greatest challenges, but they are not beyond our collective ability to end. This can only be done through effective multilateralism, collective action, and a people-centered vision of sustainable development. And in Cyprus, we stand ready to play our part in these collective efforts of turning commitment into sustained action so that the goal of no one is left behind becomes a reality. Thank you.
I would like to thank the special envoy. Allow me to invite now Mr. Radwan Hassan, Ambassador of the Republic of Indonesia to the State of Qatar, to take the floor.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi.
In the name of God, the compassionate, the merciful, the speaker moved to English.
Excellencies, honorable colleagues, first let me give my sincerest appreciation to the Brazilian and Spanish government and the state of Qatar for hosting and organizing this important meeting. Indonesia recognizes that poverty and hunger demand our continued attention. Significant progress has been made, with poverty reduced to 8.47 and unemployment to 4.76%, the lowest in decades. Yet, many Indonesians still depend on the informal sector, face constraints in accessing essential services and broader economic opportunities, and remain highly vulnerable to shocks such as job loss, illness, price volatility, natural disasters, and extreme climate. Indonesia's 2025-2029 National Medium-Term Development Plan reaffirmed its strong commitment to eradicating poverty and hunger. Through Priority Agenda 6, Indonesia is determined to addressing basic needs, advancing adaptive social protection, promoting affirmative economic empowerment, and strengthening rural development with focus on youth, women, older persons, and persons with disabilities to ensure no one is left behind on the path toward a resilient and inclusive Golden Indonesia 2045. To advance national priorities, Indonesia continues to strengthen transformative programs that enhance people's welfare. The free nutritious meal, Makan Bergizi Gratis in Bahasa Indonesia, we call it MBG, program ensures children are free from hunger and protected from stunting. While boarding schools, Sekolah Rakyat, provides holistic education for children from low-income families. By investing in children's nutrition and education, Indonesia tackles food insecurity and strengthens human capital development. At the same time, social protection and economic inclusion initiatives such as the Social Welfare Card, Affirmative Entrepreneurship Card, and village cooperatives empower low-income communities toward self-reliance and a more dignified and productive life. Indonesia remains committed to global partnership that promotes social welfare and human development. Collaboration with Brazil, China, and Finland support the free nutritious meal program through knowledge exchange, while cooperation with UNSCAP and Asia-Pacific countries strengthen climate resilience for communities in vulnerable situations. This partnership reflects Indonesia's dedication to mutual learning and shared progress toward an inclusive and resilient global society. Indonesia firmly committed to fighting poverty and hunger in all its forms. Through inclusive and sustainable policies, our country continues to strengthen social protection, enhance food security, and expand equal opportunities for all. Together with global partners, Indonesia strives to build a future where every individual can live with dignity, prosperity, and hope. We look forward to continuing this effort through strong cooperation with UN organizations and member states, and we invite all countries, especially those in the global south, to strengthen partnership and share best practices, ensuring no one is left behind in our collective pursuit of sustainable prosperity. Thank you, Chair. Shukran jazilan. Wassalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
We would like to thank you, Mr. Ambassador, and allow me now to call upon Ms. Magdalena Sepulveda, Director of the United Nations Research Institute for Social Development, to take the floor.
Excellencies, distinguished leaders, colleagues, it is an honor to address the first leaders' meeting of the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty, but let me start by thanking the leadership of Brazil and Spain and the generosity of Qatar. 30 years after the Copenhagen summit, poverty and hunger continues to be the unfinished business of our generation. With increasing inequality, climate shocks, and food insecurity, this alliance demonstrates that the urgency and determination to act together are stronger than ever. The alliance embodies a renewed commitment to multilateral cooperation, creating a platform to transform global commitments into country-led actions through shared knowledge, solidarity, and mutual accountability. UNRISD, the United Nations Research Institute for Social Development, is proud to be part of this alliance. The Institute is unique within the UN system as the only research institute fully dedicated to the social dimension of development. Our contribution to the alliance lies in generating and sharing evidence that helps countries design and implement effective, inclusive, and sustainable policies. We bring 6 decades of experience connecting research with policy making, particularly on social protection, care systems, and inequality reduction. UNRISD stands ready to support the Alliance policy basket as a knowledge partner, helping countries to identify what work, for whom, and under what conditions, by drawing on comparative evidence and local innovation. In this context, leading up to this social summit, UNRISD conducted a global survey and 6 regional consultations to capture the diverse priorities and practical solutions for advancing social development. These insights can help inform the Alliance as it scales up country-led programs and strengthen the social foundation of sustainable development. Esteemed delegates, UNRISD views the Global Alliance as an effective means to transform global commitments into tangible outcomes. Based on UNRISD research and the core principles of the Global Alliance, I would like to present 5 key messages on how we can enhance international cooperation to be more effective and tailored to the needs of countries. First, inclusion is non-negotiable. Policies must reach those furthest behind, especially women, informal workers, and marginalized communities, by addressing the structural inequalities that drive social exclusion and poverty. Second, integration is essential. Poverty eradication and food security must be pursued together through integrated social, economic, and environmental policies, linking social protection, employment creation, and local food systems. Third, evidence must drive cooperation. The Alliance should embed research, data collection, and peer learning into every country plan to ensure adapted, accountable, and effective solution. Fourth, resilience and sustainability must guide implementation. Fifth, country ownership must be a cornerstone. International cooperation should align with nationally defined priorities, strengthening local capacities and institutions. In conclusion, the Global Alliance presents a transformative opportunity to enhance multilateralism for the benefit of both people and the planet. UNRISD is prepared to support this process by providing evidence, fostering knowledge, partnership, and assisting government in developing equitable, resilient, and sustainable social policies. Together, through the Alliance, we can rebuild trust, renew social contract, and accelerate progress to SDGs 1 and 2. Thank you very much.
We would like to thank you, Your Excellency, and I would like to call upon Sheikh Mohammed Bilal, the Ambassador and the Managing Director of the Common Fund for Commodities, to take the floor.
Assalamu alaikum. Good afternoon. Khudanaband. This is how they say good afternoon in the country that I am from now, the Netherlands. agricultural powerhouse. Excellencies, distinguished delegates, friends, we must begin by thanking our generous host, Doha, and also our co-host, Brazil and Spain. It is really a privilege for us, the Common Fund for Commodities, to join this first leaders meeting of Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. We gather not simply to reflect on injustice, but to correct it with courage, ensuring a world where hunger and poverty are not menaced, but made history. For more than 3 decades, the Common Fund for Commodities, with its 101 member states, has stood with those whose hands feed humanity, yet too often go hungry. Smallholders, women and girls in rural communities, youth and workers at the first mile of global value chains. They safeguard our soils, water, and biodiversity, the frontline defenders of our shared future. This is why Common Fund was one of the first who not only accepted and admitted to this alliance, we also committed to the fast-track projects. Every year, nearly 500 cooperatives and agribusinesses seek catalytic support from the Common Fund. Their message is clear. Human potential is universal, but access and opportunity are not. Our responsibility is to close the gap with purpose and partnership. We live in a moment of overlapping crises, climate shocks, rising debts, fragile food systems, yet this must be our moment of poly-unity, turning many challenges into one shared opportunity for fairness and resilience. We must move from charity to equity, from isolated projects to system change, from risk avoidance to shared risk and shared reward. That is why we champion the humanizing the value chain, delivering justice by each transaction, so dignity, labor, and value at origin are recognized, rewarded, and respected. When we call about value chain at origin, we must pause to thank Spain for their Sevilla commitment to make it happen. For the first time in a UN document, they codified this. To move finance where it matters most, we call it Agricultural Commodity Transformation Fund for a 100 million fund. We are so happy to announce we almost reached to the goal of 40 billion, and we are still looking for. It was only 1 month ago we have activated this. I am pleased to share that the Invest International of the Netherlands joined this effort, taking powerful step toward scale. We extend our profound appreciation to our host country, the Kingdom of Netherlands, for its principled partnership and enduring commitment to dignity-driven development. We warmly commend the United Kingdom and FCDU for its 3 million catalytic facility for projects below 500,000. A bold act of confidence to rural enterprises. A leadership example others should match and surpass. As we salute President Lula da Silva, a guardian of dignity and voice for the poor, as we approach COP30, Brazil reminds us that the climate justice must include smallholders, women and workers, indigenous communities, making the COP30 a COP for producers and COP for justice. Before I conclude, I'd like to say that before we preach, we try to do our work through practice. In Senegal, a CFC loan of only US $1.46 million helped 3,000 rice farmers nearly double yields and raise incomes by 60%. Proof that higher opportunity flows, prosperity follows too. In Kenya, only our 600,000 US dollar loan supported solemn investment to reach 50,000 smallholders and increase income for 40,000 farmers. 74% of those are women. I would also like to congratulate France and all the countries who are initiating and UNICEF for a school meal program, and we must also pause to uh, appreciate Brazil for conducting this school meal program where they made a policy of 30% to be procured from the local smallholders. If we can connect with what Common Fund is now conducting called Model Village Initiative, which should initiate from the local smallholders, I think we can expect for a new kind of world. Excellencies, hunger is not fate, poverty is not destiny. They are failures of fairness, and fairness can be restored. Let us build systems where women-led, youth-innovative, biodiversity thrives, regenerative agriculture flourishes, farmers and workers live with dignity. Let our legacy be justice delivered, transaction by transaction, village by village, life by life. Thank you.
I would like to thank you, Mr. Ambassador, and we give the floor now to Mr. Andre Degens again, the Chief Executive Officer of Instituto Ibirapitanga. You have the floor.
Your Excellencies, distinguished delegates, thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I represent Ibirapitanga, a Brazilian foundation, and speak on behalf of the philanthropic seat on the Board of Champions, also composed by the Rockefeller Foundation, the Gates Foundation, and the Global Alliance for the Future of Food. Together, we represent philanthropy's commitment to food security and to building food systems that are sustainable, resilient, healthy, and just. Our presence intends to reaffirm that ending hunger is not just about delivering calories, but about making healthy, affordable, and culturally appropriate diets accessible to all. The priorities shared by the philanthropy and the Alliance reflect this broader vision. Nutritious, locally sourced school meals feed children, sustain smallholder farmers, and strengthen local food economies. Promoting healthy diets helps prevent disease and counters the global spread of ultra-processed foods and displace traditional nutrient-rich foods. Public procurement that favors local producers can channel public spending towards fair, low-carbon supply chains and create stable markets for family farms, especially in vulnerable communities. Climate resilient, regenerative agriculture restores soils, increases productivity, and helps rural families adapt to droughts, floods, and other environmental hazards. Shorter, fairer value chains keep wealth in local economies, reduce dependence on industrial supply chains, and reconnect farmers and consumers. Together, these priorities link food, climate, and inequality, calling for solutions that strengthen the agency and voice of those most affected. The value of philanthropy within this alliance is not measured by the size of its funding. Our resources will never match those of government and multilateral organizations, but by the catalytic role we can play. Philanthropic capital is flexible, agile, and often unrestricted, allowing to take risks, fill gaps, and accelerate innovations that public budgets cannot easily support. We invest in research, data, community-led programs, and advocacy to build political momentum and help policies reach those who need them most. Our convening power can bring diverse stakeholders together, foster collaboration between sectors, strengthen civil society organizations, and amplify the voices of marginalized communities. In this way, philanthropy can act as a catalytic force, helping align and unlock larger streams of finance, policy, and knowledge behind strategies that reduce inequalities and build more resilient food systems. We intend to put these tools at the service of this alliance and reiterate the pledges made a year ago towards supporting implementation of proven policies to help end hunger and promote equity, both through the fast-track country implementation plans and the newly established Secretariat. The organizations sharing this seat have shown that investing in innovations and policies for school meals nutrition, climate-resilient agriculture, and local markets can improve lives and livelihoods. By working together with the Alliance leadership and partners in this room, we can transform food systems, empower communities, tackle the root causes of inequality, and move us closer to a world where all human beings can fulfill their potential. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Andre. Allow me now to call upon Professor Sabina Alkire, the professor at the Oxford Poverty and Human Development Initiative at University of Oxford, to take the floor.
Excellencies, distinguished guests, friends, I am grateful for your professionalism, precision, and passion with which many of you spoke and many more of you act, and heartfelt gratitude to the governments of Brazil, of Spain, and of Qatar for creating this space and platform by which we can channel our collective energies against the world's greatest global challenge. My question is this: how do we know if we in the Global Alliance have made progress against hunger and poverty? How do we know when and why to cheer, and how loudly? There could be many avenues. More financing and financial architecture directed to poverty, high-impact, holistic policies that sprint to end poverty's interconnected deprivations, technologies that accelerate progress, peace-building that prevents conflicts. But it may not be a coincidence that perhaps Minister Wellington Dias and the Global Alliance chose the 3rd of November, Amartya Sen's 92nd birthday, to gather. For in the end, the Global Alliance is successful if fewer real people are poor because their capabilities expand. As Amartya Sen would stress, without knowing if poor people's lives improve, we cannot know if our work has borne fruit. Many today cited the 763 million figure for hunger, but fewer cited poverty numbers. For that reason, I wish to commend to the Global Alliance a small but clear track of poverty metrics that reflect the lived experience of the protagonists we are here to support. First, perhaps the Global Alliance might use monetary and multidimensional poverty measures because these complement each other. Multidimensional poverty indices, or MPIs, span the education, nutrition, health, housing, and livelihoods dimensions that leaders have discussed. Second, the metrics might both compare countries and be country-owned. Comparable measures show priorities across the globe. For example, with UNDP, we estimate an acute MPI for 6.3 billion people, of which 1.1 billion are poor. And looking forward to COP, we found that 80% of those almost also were exposed to high heat, air pollution, flooding, or drought in the same year in which they experienced poverty. Most lived in middle-income countries. So we do need global diagnostics beyond GDP per capita and international poverty lines, but those are not country-led. So we do need official national metrics of multidimensional and monetary poverty. And many countries in this room are developing or already use these data for budgeting, for targeting poor households and groups, for integrated multisectoral policy designs and coordination, and reporting data. The Alliance might consider recognizing and affirming these country-led efforts. Third, as we've all discussed, all poverty data need to illuminate inequalities by age, subnational region, race, ethnicity, gender, disability status, occupation, and so on. And finally, each of us need to reach out and invite new actors into this global alliance. The youth just starting their careers and wanting to work for social justice. Private sector leaders wanting to use their skills and resources for rigorous evidence-based interventions. Philanthropists, volunteers, and researchers, please don't forget academia, passionately wishing to play their part. And any countries not yet part of this alliance, in this room we will know those countries and can invite them. But this requires communicating poverty data simply, vividly, in an action-oriented way. A few strong measures that portray the lives of those on whose behalf we are here are vital. So all actors know the country's own priorities and what to do next. And so the Global Alliance knows when to cheer and why and how loudly. Thank you.
I would like to thank Professor Sabina. We will continue with you with your interventions. Allow me now to call upon Mr. Pablo Bartol, Manager of Social and Human Development at the Development Bank of Latin America and the Caribbean, to take the floor.
Cuando el presidente Lula
When President Lula launched the program 20 years ago, he didn't know that it was going to be successful. Even there were many people in the society, especially those that were financing these financial transfers, that had doubts if that money was going to be used properly, if families were going to use it for food or for something else, in vices, for example. And that controversy today is solved, because Lula somehow was the champion of financial transfers to those who are most in need, because he had the commitment, the trust, that those families were going to use the money well, because he knew them. Those transfers were progressed and developed into more evidence-based. And what started being condition transfers, we know today that they do not need to have any condition. It was probably that concession that was made to those sectors that were questioning them, so that they could have their peace of mind that with the precondition, they were going to be well used. That family was going to be independent, especially their children. Today, we know we do not need more conditions. The Bank of Development in Latin America and Caribbean, that has the biggest presence in the American continent, what we do is cross-pollination. We take good ideas from one country and take it to another. Of course, we are boosting these programs in other countries from Latin America, and of course in Argentina, where we have financed more than $1 billion in the food program Alimentar, which is similar to the family basket, and it's a government that has had many cuts because it needed to create a macroeconomic balance, and yet it increased the transfers to families that needed it the most. It was the only part of the budget that increased instead of decreasing. This is a lesson for all the Latin America that we try to keep boosting and translating to other countries. We have another part of the population that we need to trust even more. Just as Lula trusted the countries, the families that were poorer, and that they were going to use it well, we need to trust more the local producers, the rural producers, that they are going to feed the schools. They will be able to organize themselves, just as families needed that little boost, that little nudge of that transfer, that economical transfer to increase during their crisis. Rural producers in our American continent that are the most excluded in all the possible sectors in the society, they need our trust. The purchase system of the school feeding system is the biggest in the food system in the world. No other system has a bigger purchasing power and boosting or driving power than the school food systems.
what could talk about hospital, food system, or other benefits, but none has such a big, powerful purchasing power. We need to leverage that purchasing power that the state has to create a market and create cooperative of producers that can create resilient systems and long-standing systems to schools. Thus, they will develop like cooperatives to feed other sectors and develop themselves as communities and as people. What we need to do, like a bank, is use programs like we have in the one in Ecuador and another one in Salvador, programs of strengthening of these small communities that are excluded in the rural world that we need to strengthen with new opportunities. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank you, Mr. Bartol, and I would like to call upon Ms. Alexandra Newlands, the head of Sun Civil Society Network, to take the floor.
Distinguished delegates, on behalf of the Scaling Up Nutrition Movement and its civil society network, it is a great honor to join this first leaders meeting of the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. The Sun Movement is proud to be a member of this alliance. We see it as a vital platform to reimagine international cooperation, one that truly puts countries and communities at the center and recognizes that nutrition lies at the very heart of ending hunger and poverty. Many alliance members already understand the power of nutrition in building human capital, in driving social and economic development, and in breaking intergenerational cycles of poverty. Nutrition touches every aspect of life, and healthy nutrition fuels progress towards every sustainable development goal we share. It drives learning and productivity. It lifts people out of poverty and strengthens resilience to climate, conflict, and economic crisis. This has been reaffirmed through global milestones this year, from the UN Food System Summit Stocktake to the Finance for Development Summit and the $30 billion commitments made at the Nutrition for Growth Summit. Together, they show that nutrition is not a side issue. It is a central driver of human and economic development. The Sun Movement views the Global Alliance as an important partner in accelerating the cross-sectoral integration of nutrition across food systems, health, education, and social protection. Sun already embodies the kind of partnership model that the Alliance seeks to promote, one that is inclusive, coordinated, and focused on impact. Sun is country-led, but it thrives because of the partnership between government, civil society, the UN agencies, the private sector, academia, and the young people, all aligning behind national priorities to make sure the power of nutrition is fully realized. I can stand here today without speaking of the vital role of civil society. Civil society brings something unique to this partnership, a deep grassroots reach and a trusted presence with communities. Through over 5,000 local level organizations organized across 60 country level alliances, the Sun Civil Society Network connects community realities with national and regional decision making. This is what allows the Sun Movement to be a bridge, linking voices from the communities to the world stage, ensuring that no one is left behind. Let me illustrate this bridge in action with an example. In the Gambia, a cash plus care model led by the National Nutrition Agency combines cash transfers with nutrition and health education. Despite being newly launched, the results are already impressive. 98% of participating households now afford more varied and nutritious meals, and over half of the families have started small businesses, with 58% of them led by women. By pairing income support with knowledge and capacity strengthening, this model transforms temporary relief into lasting resilience, helping parents feed their families, educate their children, and build independent futures. The Sun Movement helped make that possible by serving as a coordination platform, bringing together government, donors, UN agencies, and at its heart, civil society, training communities, monitoring implementation, and ensuring the much needed accountability to the people we serve. The Global Alliance now offers a powerful opportunity to build on proven models like this. If we place nutrition at the heart of our shared efforts, we will accelerate progress on SDGs 1 and 2, while strengthening the broader social development agenda. Through its country-driven platform, regional structures, and grassroots civil society reach, the Sun Movement stands ready to work hand in hand with the Alliance to drive nutrition integration as a decisive lever for ending hunger and poverty once and for all. Thank you.
I would like to thank you, Alexandra, and I would like to call now on Zeolata Patapures from Colombia to deliver her remarks.
Excelencies,
Excellencies, members of the state and the government, heads of present delegations, dear panelists and guests, friends, in my condition of indigenous woman and permanent ambassador of Colombia before the United Nations, and on behalf of the President Gustavo Petro Urrego and the population of Colombia, I would like to express our deepest gratefulness to the State of Qatar and the Federative Republic of Brazil for their leadership in the organization of this first leaders' meeting of the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. Colombia is honored of being a co-funding country of this initiative that was born in the G20 in Rio de Janeiro, and that today is consolidated as a space for cooperation, solidarity, that is trying to tackle two of the main challenges of humanity, extreme poverty and hunger. Our government has the strong commitment to eradicate these challenges of humanity, and that's why within the framework of our development plan for 2022-2026, Colombia is trying to move forward in the consolidation of the policy Zero Hunger and reinforcing the popular economy, indigenous economy, and descendant of Africans. And in the program for an ecological transition that has already allowed to improve the life of 1.6 million people in the country. In 2024, we created the National System for the Progressive Guarantee of the Human Right to Nourishment, with a focus on social justice and human rights. Today, we want to reinstate and reaffirm in this meeting our willingness to work towards international financing mechanisms that are more fair, that provide a fiscal space for those lower income countries, and that allow for a sustainability of social policies and climate policies in the long term. We want to promote a solidary articulation between the G20, the UN, and the financial organizations in order to accelerate the eradication of hunger and extreme poverty through these initiatives. Our country firmly believes that transforming these food systems is an indispensable condition to guarantee the human right to nourishment. To face this structural inequality and give a response to the climate crisis. That is why we will be honored to host the second international conference in rural development and agriculture reforms that will take place from the 24th till the 28th of February 2026 in Cartagena de Indias. And we hope to have the active participation and the different proposals from all the state members of this alliance in order to continue advancing in the agricultural transformation that are necessary to eradicate hunger and poverty. With this spirit of cooperation, we hope to continue contributing with our experiences, learnings, and political leadership in order for this alliance to be able to continue advancing and moving forward under the solidarity spirit of the United Nations of not leaving anyone behind. We will see one another again soon. Thank you very much.
الضيوف الكرام نصل.
Dear guests, it is time for the last intervention in our session. Allow me to welcome the Minister of Agriculture in Ukraine to take the floor.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, delegates, ladies and gentlemen, it's a great honor for me to present today at the first leaders meeting of the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. On behalf of the government of Ukraine, allow me to express my sincere gratitude for your leadership in mobilizing global efforts to eliminate hunger, overcome poverty, and ensure a good life for every person. We are thankful to the State of Qatar for its hospitality and for hosting this new global platform aimed at enhancing coordination, sharing experiences, and developing joint solutions in the fight against hunger and poverty. We welcome the contributions of international organizations such as FAO, WFP, IFAD, and the UN Committee on Food Security and others whose actions are aimed at overcoming hunger in the world. For Ukraine, this issue holds special significance. For more than 3 years, we have been defending our land against the full-scale armed aggression of the Russian Federation, which has caused huge damage to our agricultural sector, rural communities, and infrastructure. Despite this, Ukraine continues to fulfill its global mission to remain a reliable food supplier and an active participant in international initiatives aimed at combating hunger. Today, every third bottle of sunflower oil in the world comes from Ukraine, and even during the war, we maintain production and export volumes. In 2022, President Volodymyr Zelensky launched the humanitarian initiative called Grain from Ukraine. To date, more than 300,000 of tons of agricultural products have been delivered to 18 countries most in need. Palestine, Pakistan, Sudan, Zambia, and other countries already received our products. Ukraine stands ready to expand these efforts through the new initiative, which is called Food from Ukraine, sharing our expertise in agriculture technologies, food processing, and sustainable land cultivation. We invite you to actively participate in the next upcoming summit in November. These humanitarian food initiatives clearly demonstrate that even under attack, Ukraine does not retreat from its responsibility. We remain a trusted partner, a global food supplier, and a firm defender of the principle that no nation should ever be held hostage to hunger. The future of global food security and poverty rooting out depends on our unity, foresight, and collective action. Ukraine firmly believes that the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty can become an effective instrument of a new international solidarity, one that combines humanitarian support, investment in the resilience, and the development of sustainable food systems. We stand ready to contribute and to work together with all partners to achieve our shared goal, a world free from hunger and poverty, where every person lives with dignity. Thank you.
شكرا لكم السيد باشليك.
Thank you, Mr. Bashlik, Your Excellencies, dear delegates. We just finished our high-level discussions. Allow me to thank all the panelists for their valuable contributions to this important discussion. Indeed, this was a very valuable day thanks to your cooperation and work We have listened and enjoyed several testimonies. We have noticed concrete partnerships, and we reiterated our collective commitment to put an end to hunger and poverty. I would like to call for the co-chairs to deliver their closing statements. First, I would like to give the floor for the Ministry of State for Social Development in the Kingdom of Spain. The floor is yours.
Thank you. The meeting is over, and I would like to start thinking, and I think it would be good to ask for a round of applause for the Master of Ceremonies that has been introducing all the speakers. Thank you so much for your help and for keeping us in order. There's been more than 70 interventions during the day. It's been very intense, and I want to thank the state of Qatar for its hospitality, to Brazil for its tireless leadership, and Renato and the support mechanism that allowed us to be here today, and for us to continue our work. And also, of course, all the participating countries, international organizations, civil society, philanthropy, academia, all of us who are part of the Global Alliance. I think we can say that this meeting has been a success. We can define the Alliance as a platform that is live, inclusive, and results-oriented. The day that we are now closing has had a strong message. We've heard commitments. Renato was talking to me about expressions of interests that were coming in through the day, international experiences, national experiences, proposals that are concrete, and also calls to actions to reinforce social protection, food security, integrated financing, and everything was under a human approach that we all share towards development. I think the message is unequivocal. When there is a political will, when there is a shared vision and a coordinated action, change is indeed possible and real. Throughout the day, we've also seen this tangible progress in the fast-track processes, show that the roadmap actually works. Several countries are moving forward. There are financial and knowledge partners ready to act, with academia ready to act, and if we align efforts together around priorities, we will enable change. It is important that these are national priorities, and they are clear national priorities. So what's now? What's now after this first leaders meeting? Our responsibility is not to stop. We need to keep at cruising level, consolidate what we have been achieved, and scaling it as much as possible. We can do it with essential principles that have been guiding our actions here: country leadership, multilateral cooperation, and attention to the people who need it most. The road is opening ahead of us, and it is concrete. June and July, we close Seville, the fourth conference, where with two initiatives, one of them was the Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. Tomorrow we start the Social Summit of Doha, where we will strengthen the social agenda, the global social agenda, with this human dimension, and this idea that was lingering over us, of prosperity, of shared prosperity. We talk all the time about shared prosperity. After Seville, we have COP30 in Belém, which will have the opportunity to close the loop between poverty, hunger, and climate change. So we hope that all countries can be able to endorse the declaration that we have created here. So the coherence between Doha and Belém and Seville will be essential to reinforce our message and our partnership. Please count on us, on Spain, our commitment, our joint commitment with all of you, so that no child goes to school in the morning without having breakfast. Spain will be governing, will be implicated in projects, in governance. We will be innovating with all of you and making partnerships, building partnerships with all of you, because all of us here share that we need to reinforce the multilateralism. We need to be committed, and we are committed with the 2030 agenda. Zero hunger, zero poverty are not rhetorical. ideals, they are moral imperatives, political imperatives. Today we've sown the seeds of hope, but we need to call for action, call for unity and determination. Thank you so much.
شكرا لكم سعادة الوزيرة.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Thank you for your compliments and your closing remarks. You are our guests in the state of Qatar, so welcome once again. We will now give the floor to Mr. Wellington Diaz, the Minister of Social Development and Family and Hunger Fight in the federal state of Brazil and the co-chair of the Global Alliance. The floor is yours.
Eu começo com uma reflexão.
To begin with a reflection. It has been 30 years ago. Certainly, we have a lot of memories, but we need to not forget that 30 years ago, the world had more people going through hunger, more people in poverty. So, therefore, the social summit of Copenhagen had results. 30 years later, we are here in Doha, in Qatar. And therefore, I would like to thank the government of Qatar, to all of you who contributed to allow us to be able to be here in this summit of the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. In the same way, I would like to also thank UN, the Assembly of UN that has also agreed for us to have in partnership with this summit of the social summit, this meeting of the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. And of course, allow me on behalf of my beloved Eva Granado, a round of applause for Eva, please, on behalf of Eva. Each one of the members of the delegations that came here, on behalf of Renato Godinho, also the team, the mechanism team, FAO, that contributed also so that we could have this moment. It was a long working day. After my speech, nobody leaves because I want to invite you to have a group photo so that we can have it as a keepsake for heroes that resisted until the end. But we leave here, and I hope, energized by the powerful statements and firm commitments that we have heard. Each announcement, each partnership, each renewed pledge brings us closer to work together for a world without hunger and poverty. Today we witness something unprecedented. The Alliance's partnership building approach, connecting national plans to multiple partners willing to support with financing and knowledge. It is innovative, it is transformative, and it is already generating concrete results. Let's see that if we compare the result that's been published in July of this year by FAO and the report of the global scale of food security, the year of 2024 in relation to the year 2023, 62 million people approximately less in the food insecurity. So something is happening. But let us be frank. This approach has limitations. Each partner has its own separate approval processes, budget cycles, and financial programming mechanisms. This creates frictions, delays, difficulty in establishing synergies and joint operations. We have to follow replacing the fragmentation of the cooperation for the development that imposes high costs of transactions to the government, weakens national ownership, and hinders the building of self-reliance. The G20 task force that established the alliance had already warned on this problem of fragmentation. We recognize that we need more systematic mechanisms to better integrate support among the alliance's many members, specifically the financial support. The social doesn't have to be treated as charity. Social support, social development has to be worked on as a strategic part of the economical development and now integrated with the environment. Therefore, in 2026, in line with the initiatives launched under the Civil Platform for Action, we will begin conversations and understanding of a voluntary financing alignment mechanism, a kind of a one-stop shop for national programs in low and middle income countries, which could reduce fragmentation, improve coordination among humanitarian, climate, and development players, and strengthen country platforms. We look forward with anticipation the launch of later this year of the ODI Global Report, which will identify mechanisms and practices through which national plans can be connected to external financing through voluntary arrangements for pre-committed funding, with a focus on the Alliance's policy and program basket and aiming for better utilization of multilateral sources. This report, I hope, will improve our understanding of the strengths and weaknesses of existing financing approaches, including in contexts of fragility and conflict, and will identify the desirable features of one or more mechanisms that can improve the adequacy, efficiency, and effectiveness of financing for national programs against hunger and poverty, leading to better outcomes for vulnerable populations. But we can count from 2026 to the example of the Oxford University that we saw here, the knowledge with the participation of the universities, the academia. I must confess that I dream also to have the organization of the parliaments of the world on behalf of the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty for the weight that it contains. But we will not wait for perfect structures to act. In 2026, the support mechanism will reach full operational capacity. Any member country will be able to request support in a process entirely driven by demand. And at COP30 in Belém, we will adopt the Belém Declaration on Hunger and Poverty and Human-Centered Climate Action, reaffirming that a just climate transition must protect the most vulnerable. Those who have access to the minutes of the text that will be seen by the leaders of the social summit you must have realized that we already have the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty as a very important mechanism for the challenges of humanity. Here we have had the condition to have the presentation of plans of Cambodia, Cuba, Lebanon, Dominican Republic, Indonesia, Mozambique, Somalia, and they are already well advanced, and your countries have expressed the interest to begin in the next few days. We'll deal with the next steps to be taken. What we have built in this first year has already been extraordinary. The best is yet to come. The alliance is alive, it's growing, it's delivering its promises, and together we will prove that hunger and poverty are not destiny, they are choices. And we choose differently. We choose to overcome hunger and overcome poverty. So let's go forward with hope. Adolescent. My family in Brazil, we are descendants from the indigenous people. And there we were living in the rural area. I was able to follow a bird, a bird, and they established their nest. And there they laid their eggs, 4 eggs. And I started to follow them, and I saw something that after reading a book of the president of China, the President Xi Jinping, I saw that most likely he lived through something similar. Because these 4 birds that I observed, I saw that one was a small bird. It was more fragile. And I saw the care that the couple there of birds were looking after that more fragile and smaller bird. After my grandfather called my attention and he told me, see that the small bird flew first and he flew higher. So the countries are like birds. They are small, but if they're well taken care of, they're supported, they will fly, and they will fly higher. So let's cheer for the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. Thank you very much.
I would like to thank the speakers, the members of the delegates, and everyone, distinguished excellencies, distinguished delegates. On behalf of the State of Qatar, the United Nations, and the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty, I thank you for your active participation, your inspiring commitments, and your unwavering dedication to this vital cause. We have reached the end of the first leaders meeting of the Global Alliance Against Hunger and Poverty. Thank you and safe travels to all of you, and may the peace and blessings of God be upon you all.
Acordarem, podemos vir juntos aqui à frente, fazemos uma foto.
We can go together. We can go together, we can make a bridge.